Morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started over here. My name is Vinay Nilakantan. I'm the Director of Product Development and Research here at Meridian. And a quick background about Meridian. We've actually been in the e-learning business since 1997, so we're pioneers within the space. And we've been deploying learning strategy solutions for corporate companies within North America and all across the globe for the past 14 years. Um, One of the things that we've been doing has been assisting companies with how they need to deploy a mobile training strategy. And that's the focus of this presentation over here. We understand it's been kind of murky, where folks really don't know exactly how to deploy a training strategy through a mobile solution as such. And the purpose of this presentation is actually to give some insight into what you need to know in order to deploy a training strategy. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and get started over here. So a couple of statistics about the mobile market. It's clear that there's about 80% of people accessing the internet will be doing so from mobile devices. Tablets and mobile devices are actually going to outnumber computers in the next year. So we have Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, who's called this the post-PC era as they unveil the new iPad. So we're seeing a lot of that happen as well. Now, why is the shift happening? The shift is happening because of some fundamental factors over here. Why are we using mobile devices to do training a lot more? Obviously, there's an increased number of mobile devices out there. There's a lot more dynamic web content. So gone are the days where you just have to click next and move to the next button. There's interaction levels that have increased. And then finally, we've got the 3Gs and the 4Gs of the world that allow you to take high bandwidth content, which we never had before. And that's really caused the entire growth of this entire industry. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how people use their mobile devices. So they've usage of mobile devices has actually been grouped into 7 categories as such. So let's talk through some of these categories over here. You have the connect category, which is the traditional way of how you use a mobile device, which is for making phone calls and actually texting people and emailing people. You have the search, where you actually use the mobile device as a knowledge base, where you search Wikipedia, search Google, and actually bring information back. Then, of course, you've got all you folks that play Angry Birds and draw something on your cell phones, and that's the entire entertainment category over here. And then, if you're like me, I manage my stock portfolio on my cell phone. I can open my garage door through an app. So there's entire lifestyles that's being managed through a mobile device over here. And finally, inform. Well, not finally, but inform is a fairly important category, and we'll come back to that in a second. Now, there's a lot of people who are actually not using the mobile device for shopping, but they're using it for comparing prices and doing market research on where they can find the best price. It's still not being replaced. They still like the experience of going to a brick and mortar store and buying, or using the PC to actually buy stuff. So they're not using the mobile device for actually shopping. And then finally, GPSs, the entire category of using a map or being able to navigate through a mobile device. So the category we need to focus on is obviously the inform category. The inform category is direct information that can be assimilated by the learner through this mobile phone. Now, what we've done is we've also taken this down, broken this down by categories and how much time each of these categories are actually being used within a day. So if you look at the big blue bar over there, that's connect. So 38% of the day is still being used for fundamental traditional means of the mobile device, which is talking, emailing, texting, social media, all of that. But if you look at the inform category, there's a healthy 9% that's reserved for the entire inform category, which people are currently using for getting news, getting updates. This is a category that could be converted directly into learning, and this is a category that we need to capitalize on. So, what are we going to be talking about this presentation is why would your organization use mobile phones for training? How would your existing learning infrastructure complement your mobile training strategy? Do you have the right means to build mobile training courses? What are the best type of content within a mobile training strategy? Is it documents? Is it PDFs? Is it webcasts? Is it podcasts? Do you have a standardized mobile phone across your organization? Most likely no. Unlike PCs, corporate organizations don't standardize a mobile phone across an organization. And then, are you looking to launch a mobile-specific course to drive adoption rates? And then, do your mobile phone users have access to high-speed networks? Most importantly, are you trying to invest in the trend or the outcome over here? All right, so we've worked with several of our customers to actually deploy a training strategy focused towards their mobile audience. And one of the fundamental things that we've realized is that you need to have you need to be able to condense this down into a 6-step training strategy. So the 6 steps that we've lined up over here is basically go through a pilot program, choose your learning technology platforms, decide what course catalog you want to deploy on your mobile courses, pick those 2 or 3 course catalogs so that you can effectively launch a pilot. Find out and identify and understand multi-course format tagging, which is basically allowing you to deploy a course for a traditional LMS and then be able to deploy that same course through smart tagging for a mobile phone. And then finally, what are you going to do for a support program or for a help desk program if people have concerns? So let's go through a checklist of what you will need in order to deploy a mobile training strategy. So from a learning technology standpoint, you need obviously access to a learning management system. This becomes a fundamental system or infrastructure in place that allows you to track your training and be able to report back on your training. You also need to have a mobile interface that will allow you to access your LMS through a mobile device. And then you also need an email notification mechanism. As we saw earlier, a large percentage of people are actually using their phones for emails. And the best way to get the message across about how to increase adoption rates for training would be through emails and notifications. You need a mobile learning authoring tool, and we talk a little bit about your choices over there. And most importantly, you need courseware. You need content to actually play back on the mobile device. And finally, just like any other training, the ability to survey your users to find out what you're doing wrong, what you're doing correct, and what you need to improve upon that. And then reporting to understand completion. What kind of completion are you actually getting over here? So for a mobile-only course, why do you need a mobile-only course? So what you want to do is try and increase adoption rates by coercing users to be able to go to their mobile device to launch this course. So if there is an option to create a single course that does not need to be taken on the PC, that will allow folks to actually push them towards being able to launch these mobile courses only on a mobile device. So make sure that your LMS is capable of differentiating when a course is loaded up to say, hey, you know what, I want to create this only in my mobile catalog. I don't want to create this in my regular LMS catalog. And then how do you avoid? You should be able to get to that course once a user is sent that information. Be able to get to that course as quickly as possible. Ideally, what you want to do is be able to create some kind of deep link that allows a user to get an email and then they click on that course and it automatically launches that course after authenticating, so that they don't have to search for things, find things, and go through multiple clicks within their interface. And then the course needs to be a really streamlined course, not consisting more than 10 pages over here. It needs to be simple, very basic interactivity. On a mobile device, you really don't want to give too many choices to users. And then finally, less on graphics, more instructional in nature. That's fundamental to the success of a mobile-only course. So keep your catalog small. It's highly relevant that a user does not have to hunt for a course within a mobile catalog. It's very important that a user should be able to get to that course as quickly as possible, not load through 600 courses or 700 course catalog, and they're going to get confused. So what you want to be able to do is have the ability to pin up your course or stick it right to the top, so that as soon as the user enters the mobile interface, they have access to that course sitting on their learning plan or onto their homepage as easily as possible, so that they can just one click and launch that entire course. You can include basic access approval. So in case your employees need to get approvals from their managers, you have the ability to actually build that in. Look for a mobile interface that will allow a manager to actually give access through a mobile interface. So if I'm a manager and if I'm running between meetings and if I get an access approval request, I should be able to give approval while being on the move. And then finally, make sure that you have email notifications that allow you to launch content directly from the email, so that you don't have to get to the LMS. You just click on that link, it launches content, but keeps track of who is taking that content, so it can report progress back effectively. All right. So one of the most fundamental things that we've realized from all the enterprise-wide customers that we've deployed a mobile training strategy for is there needs to be a slight shift in the actual help desk support program. It does not apply to the same conventional PC help desk program that you have. So what does a help desk plan actually? What does a mobile training strategy actually need as a help desk plan? So one thing that you need to do is set up a small lab where you have multiple devices. We've set it up with just about 5 devices. So we've got a BlackBerry, we've got an iPhone, we've got an Android device, we've got a Samsung tablet and an iPad. So that becomes our test lab. So when somebody gets a call saying, hey, I'm having a problem over here trying to access the course, I am able to recreate that problem on my device and be able to understand exactly what the problem is. So obviously, the help desk workforce needs to be trained on how to use those devices and how to also troubleshoot that. So please keep that in mind when you're rolling out your strategy. Most importantly, you need to track specific trends. What you're having, is there any incompatibility with some of the new browsers within mobile phones? Windows 8 just came out. Is there some problems with the IE version of that? So you need to keep track of things like that, because the mobile application will actually need to be tailored for that. Areas of slowness, and of course usability concerns, which get reported back to your help desk, which we tweak and continue through. So what does an organization typically need help with in making decisions? Why does an organization come to us, or why does an organization come to a training strategy provider to be able to make decisions? So there's so many content authoring platforms that build learning solutions. How do you decide which one? So how do you decide which platform do you use to actually deploy these courses on? Do I need an app? Do I need a browser-based solution? What's the difference between an app? What's the difference between a browser-based solution? And what do I need to know about converting courses from a regular desktop LMS experience all the way to a mobile course experience? And how do I handle if folks have low bandwidth? If we're in an area where 3G and 4G is still not there, how do we handle that? What type of courses do I start with, and how can I show results? We'll talk a little bit about that. So content authoring, there's several players out there in the market, makes for a confusing choice. Look for these specific items that will help you narrow down your choice. So look for an integrated offering within the LMS that you have. So most likely if you have an LMS, they have some kind of an integrated LCMS offering over there. That's the best match for you because it keeps your troubles free. You have one vendor to work with. And then if they create a course, most likely they've tested it out so that it works effectively in the LMS. Look for somebody that supports the PEN standard. The PEN standard is an important standard for deploying courses from an LCMS directly to an LMS. So as long as these vendors support that standard, it becomes much easier for you all to troubleshoot, to say, hey, you know what, if you support the PEN standard, it should work fine. So this is a little future proofing over here. Make sure that the output is capable of deploying to HTML5. This is pretty much the future of the internet. And we still have some course LCMS providers that cannot output to HTML file. So be wary of that. And then we talked a little bit about multi-format course tagging. So if I build a course once for a desktop LMS, how can I tag it smartly to say if that same course is accessed through a mobile phone, it knows which view to deliver specifically based on which device you come from. And then, of course, the standards, AICC SCORM 1.2, SCORM 2004, second, third, and fourth edition, all becomes highly relevant when you're choosing a content authoring solution for an LCA, for a mobile strategy. A deployment platform. Here's some very, very relevant information. Look for a brandable deployment platform. A lot of LMS vendors will give you a mobile offering and then they say you can't configure that or you can't actually brand that. So you want to be able to brand it so that it doesn't show the company, the LMS's name. It wants to be able to show the organization's name. Remember, we're talking about the mobile interface, not the regular desktop LMS interface. Make sure that the mobile solution is actually an extension of the LMS so that it's driven by the same business logic, so that if you make a change in the desktop LMS business logic, it actually reflects back into the mobile strategy. You don't have to make it twice. So that's an important factor to consider because it keeps your costs down. Look for a proven solution out in the market. Everyone has a mobile offering. Make sure that it's actually been deployed with customers. And then make sure that your LMS can differentiate between a mobile-only catalog and a desktop-only catalog. So it's very important that if I want to access my course catalog, I don't see all 800 courses over there. I can see just the 4 or 5 courses that are specifically designed for a mobile phone. And then ideally look for a web-based browser experience because that gives you instant compatibility with multiple devices rather than a single app. So if I have to develop an app, I have to develop it for the iPhone, for the Android device, for the Windows mobile device, and for all those various devices. A browser-based solution allows you to deploy it across multiple offerings. Now, here's the good parts about the app and a couple of things that everyone should know about. An app is good if you have a standardized mobile platform across the organization. Most organizations do not have that. So most organizations, employees are buying their own phones, which are either iPhones or Blackberries or Android phones. So it's getting hard. So you'll have to actually build an app for each device then. And that becomes a bit of a challenge from a cost perspective. The advantage with an app is you're only loading data because the UI actually stays consistent. So there's very strict rules for look and feel, so it becomes consistent with all the other apps. So there's not too much of a learning curve for users. And then you have deployment restrictions. How are you actually going to install these apps across multiple hundreds of users or thousands of users? Users will actually have to download this app and install it themselves. You can't control that too well. Offline support. What kind of offline support? What happens if I don't have internet connectivity or if I don't have access to mobile range? We'll talk about that. Apps are usually more expensive because you have to develop them for multiple offerings, but it does give you a much more integrated experience, so it feels like it's part of the phone, which is a good advantage. So converting courses, if you need some of you have course development teams within your organization. If you need to go to an external organization, please engage with your LMS vendor to try and make sure that they can help you pick a vendor that knows how to operate with their courseware. So be sure to conduct an M learning needs analysis. So what is involved with an M learning needs analysis? What kind of security are you looking for within your mobile phone offering? What kind of content do you need to be able to deploy? Is it compliance content? Is it optional elective training? Is it organizational development training? So try and understand that. Um, be very particular about the levels of interactivity. Your course content becomes more expensive as you increase the levels of interactivity. So on a mobile phone, it's not that recommended that you need to have high levels of interactivity. You can keep it low and keep your costs low. And then research the market for prices. Course conversion is going to be your most expensive component with everything. All right, let's talk about low bandwidth or offline learning. This is probably one of the most exciting areas for training developments, but there are a couple of areas that are called internet dead zones. So internet dead zones are zones that you just cannot get access to the internet. So if you're going in an elevator or if you're flying in a plane, you just don't have access to the internet. That also happens to be one of the best areas or the best times for somebody to take training because they have nothing else to do. They can't use their phones for email. They can't watch movies, or they can watch movies on a DVD player, but it's the best time for them to take training. So look for offline applications. So there are multiple applications. Multiple LMS providers actually have an offline application that you can put onto your laptop that downloads the courses when you're still connected, and then when you're flying in the plane, you can take access to this content, come back when you land down, and then you can sync up that progress with the LMS provider. So it becomes highly effective for users to be able to take that, especially on those long plane rides. And then the next step is we have that on a desktop. The next step would be to put that on an iPad so you can actually take content or take courses offline through a tablet. All right, what are the types of courses that you need to start with? So anything that is a non-interactive, the easiest way to get onto this mobile training strategy is to take a course or take a non-interactive document, say like a policy or a standard operating procedure, and put that as a compliance training where you can pop it to the front of the mobile device and allows a user to take the course directly. You can try recordings, WebEx recordings, GoToMeeting recordings as well. You can also do some simple self-paced tailored courses. We advise not to make them highly complicated, once again, making too many decisions for the users. Checklists, another area which is being used effectively is if you have OJT, on the job training checklist, where a person could actually walk around and check off things as they're doing jobs. That becomes really handy with a mobile device. And then, of course, the entire social element to this, which is informal learning or the ability to tweet, the ability to talk about things while you're actually on your mobile device. All right, so what do we do about metrics and results? Just to wind down over here, the same traditional training metrics and results hold good. So we're talking about you should be able to analyze, well, you should be able to measure reaction, learning, application, and that points back to results. So the same strategies that apply for traditional training, you want to be able to report on this, especially if it's a new venture within your organization. So the important thing is, let's analyze frequency of completion. So with any compliance course, usually most of the employees wait till the end as they get close to the compliance due date. That's when everyone takes the course. So with a mobile device, is it a little more spread out since people have access to this as they go along? So let's start analyzing frequency of completion. And then, of course, just like any other training strategy, be able to adjust your mobile training strategy based on feedback, and then re-engage your users with the next level of interaction or the next level of maturity within your courses. The truth is, very few people are actually deploying mobile training courses yet, and people are still trying to find out how do we actually do this. And the entire purpose of this presentation is to give everyone an insight on some of the steps that can be taken to actually get this done.